Hi everyone, Wilmar Calagos here and back with step 3 today. And you should have already gone through step number 1, which was really taking a look at your business, what you currently have, taking a good look at all the different pieces that you have, all the systems and processes, taking a look at the market, really positioning yourself as far as your message and looking back what you currently have for services, or if you're a new entrepreneur, really dialing in with your work history experience and really figuring that out, and then going through the operations of your business to creating a product and service delivery, and then going through your values and your culture and vision and mission and purpose of your business, and then getting a team together to pretty much execute all the things that you've gone through as far as the 10 modules on step 1. So a very big module, or a very big step as far as the foundation part of the 7 parts of the process of getting your business systemized. And then we went through step 2, which is systems, and really just narrowing down what systems you need, prioritizing them, applying the 80-20 rule, and then applying the 80-20 rule to itself, and we get the 4 and 64 rule. And for this step is this is going to be a simple way of documenting a system and its processes. So let's get to it. So we're at step 3, documentation. Document your core process. And here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the best and simplest way to document every core business system, and it's what I call capture system. And I will also just speak a little bit about the SDB implementer web application that I built long ago when I started was thinking about my startup, thinking about tools that I want to provide for my clients. And SDB implementer was something that I kind of came up with that really works with the 7-step process that I've created. And so I'll introduce that a little bit as far as just the components of it, and then the why checklists are important to implement in your business. Checklists are the most effective way to really work your systems, because you can't trust your memory, and that writing it down and following a checklist is going to be the simplest way to make sure that you're executing correctly and efficiently. And then the 4 parts, or 4 ways to document a system and its process, is the acronyms DOC, descriptions, operations, and then creation. Then you have your BPP, which is your business processes and procedures, your T.E.M.P, which is your tasks, employee forms, manuals, and procedures, and then VTC is video training creation. So eventually, as you implement systems in your business and with your staff, these acronyms should be used in daily language, as far as can you create a VTC for this process, or we need to doc this, which means we have to create a documentation, whether it's that has descriptions of some kind of operation, and someone has to create it. So let's get to the SDB implementer 7-step process handbook guide. Step 3 is documentation. Step 3, documentation. Document your core process. In this module, you will uh, document every core business workflow process, customer interaction flow process with every step of the process. Use a checklist with appropriate pictures, illustration, and record a video when necessary. So the main thing with documentation is that when you've um, determined a process or a system, and with the last step, which is systems, we've kind of really dialed in the process of what and how uh, what we're going to use to basically um, run the process. And in this module is going to be the step-by-step documentation of each of these systems that we deem to be important that need to be documented. And so, the last, two steps are pretty loaded, right? Because there's so many different businesses, there's so many different systems and processes, um, and how you do things, and there's so many components, there's so many services, there's so many products. It just can kind of get a little bit crazy, and that's why really prioritizing and doing the 80/20 and the 464 rule with the systems that you have, you really want to make it simple and build documentation on the things that are very important to have, that you use on a daily basis to run your business. And assuming you've done that work on the last step and you've really narrowed down these systems, then now it's time to document each of them. So let's get to it. And this part I've already went over regarding um, document the customer process and build templates. Start with one system and create the process one at a time. And then remember the 4 things: DOC, BPP, T.E.M.P, and then also BTC. And I think as you go through this process of really honing down on your systems and now documenting them, once you get the flow of things, and once you set this up, if you're a new entrepreneur and you really want to dial in your systems and processes, this will be a pretty, it's a step where it's going to take some time. But if once you take your time to document, then changing it or iterating it later on is going to be that much more simpler and easier, especially if you're a new entrepreneur. You set it up now, so when you get employees, then they will be in charge of iterating and also updating the documentation for all of your systems. All right, so these are the steps. And so determine which system you want to document first. And so for my example, I will be doing the sales systems and its process. So basically, this is my sales systems and process, and how I take a stranger and then turn them into a client. And so this is a process that I will be setting up, because this will be the sales system that I will teach and I will execute. And so I have to determine what my sales process is going to be. And so essentially, this is this also a little bit with marketing, because your sales system also includes the marketing part, which is when you really dial in your marketing strategy, your sales, and how you get that person to buy or to become your client will be in the process. So this is going to be system 1. And again, what you want to do is you want to limit this to as the least step as possible, and you don't want to go more than 12 steps. And the capture system process is really understanding what the system is, naming the system, and then explaining that step in 1 to 3 sentences. And then what happens is that to fill in the fine details of whichever system that you want to document, the details are filled in with creating a video or audio of the actual system. And so you don't want to document in writing in large text form, because these things may change. Maybe it's the interface or the user interface of a program that let's say it's Facebook marketing, their interface may change, and the steps to getting to do certain things may change. And so now you're documenting it in text, and then it changes. Now you gotta basically rewrite the whole thing, which would be much faster if you just would just record a quick 10-15 minute video on that particular systems and its core steps, and then letting the details fill that in instead of retyping it. And also, sometimes you get documentation where there's text and there's a visual screenshots. So now you got to redo all the text, and you got to redo all the screenshots. And so you're literally just taking you 4, 5, 8 hours to do this, documenting this one system and its processes, only to find out that Facebook just redid their website, and now you got to do the whole thing over instead of just reshooting, right? A 5-10 minute video that still has the same core steps. And so that is what I'm trying to encapsulate right here on this step with documentation. And so let's begin. All right, so step 1. So remember, this is my sales system and my process. So step 1 is going to be, Facebook ad. And so I'm not covering the system of how to create a Facebook ad. So this is the core steps of my sales process. So I don't want you to be confused. And so we're going to start off with basically a Facebook ad. And with the Facebook ad, we're going to launch a Facebook advertising that uses 5 ad angles to attract and invite potential client. And through this ad, what we're offering is basically a gift. In my case, it's a PDF. And so once we attract them with this lead magnet, which is this Facebook ad, and if they do click, what happens is that they are sent to a landing page, which has a value video. So explain how this step is done. And so basically it's a 20-minute video teaching, which is a concept that is a valuable information and offers free consultation. And so we're adding value again with the landing page. So that's step 2 in my sales system and process. And then from there, there is a part where they get to a calendar where they can set up an appointment. And so explain how this step is done. Client uses Calendly, so I use Calendly for right now. to set appointments and automate reminders plus confirmation will be provided when they actually set up a time and a date when they can do the actual systemization strategy session. So once they complete that, the next step in my process is the survey application, and they would have to fill that out. Client fills out 12 questions to qualify for or to be considered for the S, which is systemization strategy session. And then what happens is that they go to a thank you page. And then the next step is the S is the strategy session. And so assuming everything is good, then what would happen is that there would be a systemization strategy session that would happen. And so that person would have to facilitate a 1-hour session with them and determine if they can add value to the customer and if it's a good fit for the client and what we're looking for. And then if so, we make an offer. And so that would be step 6. Step 7 then would be they either become our client or maybe a future client. And so if we do make an offer and if it fits, if you make an offer but don't close, it means they don't agree with it right away, then basically the step that would need to be taken is that they would need to be added to the marketing campaign. And then step 8 is if they do offer and accept the offer, then the next step that needs to be taken is that an invoice, contract, and a payment portal would need to be sent to them, via email. And that would complete basically the sales cycle from taking somebody as a stranger with a Facebook marketing ad all the way down to accepting an offer. Or if they don't accept the offer, then basically they would be put into the email marketing campaign. And so I have about 8 steps in my sales system in my process. Okay. And so what would happen next if that was my system is that after documenting all the steps, it says here decide if you need to record a video tutorial for the system. And so I wrote this in this manner because there's some systems that are so simple that you may not need a video. Okay, and the video can be like a screen recording, just like what you're looking at now, or it could actually literally be an employee just teaching someone how to do something, maybe on the register, or maybe how to set up a certain room, or how to set up, if it's a hotel, then how to set up, a certain table, arrangement. It's, any system, anything that needs to be documented so that it can be used for training certain processes, then you'll need to take a video of it. And then it says the documentation you just created is a script, and you will need to create a VTC, okay, video training creation. Follow the steps. In the documentation and capture it in video form. Keep videos, very, very simple. So here's the workflow. As we just went over, so state the process name and then basically read the description that you wrote, which we just did that on those 9 steps for my sales system and processes. And then, that's literally the video. state the name of it, state the step, and then state pretty much the description. And then from there, step 3 would be in your own words, explain the steps as you would if you were training and you hire, using words and language you normally use. Okay, so you don't want to be, it's literally just very simple. You don't, it's not anything where you're acting, it's just literally explaining as much as you can in the process of it. Okay, do not try to sound professional. Just be yourself so anybody that watches it can understand it without you using like big words to describe the process. So let's keep it as simple as possible. And then if you want to incorporate any image or illustration, for the VTC, that would help, visually, then go for it. But other than that, we don't want this, video training creation to be anything spectacular, unless it needs to be for whatever reason. Maybe this, maybe you're a marketing company that maybe provides these services where you're actually doing these exact things for them. Other than that, the systems that you have and processes will change over time, and you're going to iterate because you realize, okay, this is probably not the best way to do it. So therefore you don't want to, you want to invest a good amount of time, but you don't want to invest a great amount of time with your processes. Initially, the effort and the time when you really do this is really in the beginning, when you're setting it all up. After that, once you have anything set up, then again, changing and making it better is that much simpler. And then when you get staff, then you would basically put them in charge of updating these processes, and also the steps, and also the video. And it's really should be out of your hands, unless you personally want to do it as a business owner. And in terms of the web application, SDB implementer application, I will actually do a separate tutorial training on that, and then going over important systems that you should have for your business. And so the SDB implementer web application is so the different features and functions that you could you'll be able to do on the actual web application is that you will be able to create a visual process map of what you just determined here as your system. And then you can create the basic workflow and how all of those things work. And then your documentation, as far as the 1 to 3 sentences, descriptions that you wrote down, you can literally enter them in there. And then through that process, you can print out a PDF and links pretty much to the videos that you recorded. And you are also able to upload all of your videos onto the actual web application, so everything is in one place. And then you will be able to create checklists and create videos in your checklists, so that you can use the checklist function as well for your systems. And I highly recommend that you use checklists as much as possible, because that is the simplest way to execute systems with accuracy. And then the other part of that is that if you have 5 people in your team, then you can create accounts for as many people on your team as possible, and they will have the same access as you would with all the documentations, the process maps, the systems and checklists, and the videos and the training that you have for your business. And so it basically becomes this other tool where everything is centralized in terms of your systems, your processes, and also your documentation. And so that's it for step 3. This is a very simple documentation methodology, and we want to keep it simple and being able to accurately being able to accurately create a capture system so that someone you just hired can get on the web application, access all the documentation, and being able to watch them and look at them and read them and be able to execute with the documentations that you put together. So there's only 4 things that matter when you systemize your business: systems, processes, documentation, and execution of all of them. Aside from closing sales, you will be tempted to do other things, but when it comes to systemization, your brain power has to be focused on these 4 parts: implementing the systems you need today, figuring its processes, documenting them, and executing them. So that's it for step number 3. I will see you on the next step right now.